News Radio 840 WHAS coming up on today's Louisville Real Estate Show. Pam wonders if she can buy a home even if she has $80,000 in student loan debt. Also, one of our listeners is asking, can you sue your neighbor over bamboo shoots that's coming from your neighbor's yard? And we've got 12 mistakes never to make when flying the American flag in your home. Hi, everybody. Bob Sokoler, owner of the Sokoler team at Remax Properties. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday. Hope it's a good day. It's the last Sunday of June already. Oh, my goodness.
I know.
It's something. All right. So joining us, those voices belong to Lee Harris. She is one of the head folks, the legal counsel over at Limestone Title and Escrow, LLC. You can reach Limestone and Lee if you want to close a loan on your home or really, quite frankly, a lot of other legal items that they can do. You can reach Lee and this is her cell phone number, 649-7964. Also here with us, Randy Rocky. He's one of the head owners of Swan Financial, where they will help you shop the loan. They do the actual work for you, but they get you the best rate by shopping the loan among a variety of people that they work with. You can reach Randy at 645-0736. And if you are thinking of selling your home now or in the future, I would love to help you. There's no home too big or too small. I work both in the Louisville surrounding counties and in southern Indiana. And you can reach me anytime for a free, no obligation analysis. I'll come out. It's me. I come out. We talk, answer your questions, and hopefully you decide, well, maybe we move, maybe we don't. But you can get a hold of me at 376-5483. That's 502-376-LIVE. Or you can go to bobsellslouisville.com, click on the information there, submit, and I will get back in contact with you. And then finally, for a free no obligation analysis of what your home is worth, it's our computer AI that does the work for you. You can simply go to WeSellLouisville.com and click on the top of the page there, and you'll get your estimate when you fill out the information. All right. Let's start with Lee Harris over at Limestone Title and Escrow. Surrey has a problem with bamboo shoots. And we actually talked about this problem a couple of weeks ago on the show, folks. Surrey heard us, and she says her neighbor, and she was the one who has a neighbor, has planted bamboo, and it's invasive. Brad Lawler, Home Team Inspection, actually talked about that, how invasive it can be. Mm-hmm. It's coming on the property in her backyard as well. And she's worried about selling her home in a couple of years down the road. And she's taking steps now to prevent the bamboo from invading all of the backyard. She's having a barrier put up, Lee, which will cost her a total of about $10,000, because not only does she have to put this plastic barrier to keep the roots from coming underground and up to her side of the lawn, but she also has to pull down a tree to be able to get that done. So she's wondering, legal action against her neighbor. And this is for anybody where a neighbor has caused damage to your property, or perceived damage, I guess. Lee, what can a neighbor do, including what can Siri do with the problem with the bamboo?
Well, usually this issue has to do with weeds or trees, but you have your property line. If you could take your property line all the way up to the sky, whatever your property line is, you have the rights over here, and your neighbor has the rights over there. So generally, say a branch or something was hanging over to your yard or hanging over your roof, you can cut up through that property line, as long as you don't kill the tree, or kill the plant, because that could cost you money, actually. Yeah. So the neighbor's responsibility is to keep their roots, their weeds, their whatever their plants are off of that property line. So if the roots do happen to be coming over into your yard, you do have a legal right to ask them to mitigate that. If you've tried with your neighbor, it sounds like maybe you have, if you're going to this length, and they say, no, we don't care, we're going to keep our bamboo the way it is, then there is such a thing called private nuisance. You could perhaps bring a claim, have the court say that they have to cut that back, or they have to put up a barrier. And you could also call code enforcement. I know code enforcement is sometimes not popular, but there are rules about those kind of vegetations and plants that they might be able to issue a citation and have them clean it up.
All right, so the takeaway, I think, for anybody who's listening who may not have a bamboo problem with a neighbor, but maybe it could be a branch, weeds, whatever, you can ask them to clean it up. You can go to court and code enforcement and ask the city, or I guess county in many cases, or even a subdivision, to enforce regulations. But we didn't answer legal action. Is there, can you take them to court?
Yeah, so that would be a claim for private nuisance. It's basically saying my neighbor is creating a nuisance on my property, and you could go and try to get an injunction, try to get a ruling that they have to fix it, that they have to pay for whatever mediation is required for that. And obviously going to court though is expensive, and it creates bad neighbors. So you want to try everything you can short of that. But there are rights if somebody is essentially quote unquote trespassing on your property with bamboo.
Small claims court, or is this
Could
simply
be
more?
if that's if it's $2,500 or less
Yeah.
to fix
Okay.
it. Yeah.
All right. So there's some options for you, sir. But one of the things, of course, is just to knock on the door if you haven't already and ask the neighbor. But obviously, there's other recourses that you can do. All right.
Absolutely.
Let's move over to Randy Rucky, Swan Financial, something that's in the news, especially this past week. Sam listens to our show, and thank you, Sam, and everybody else who listens. And Sam's writing in. He says, "What is going on with interest rates?" He said he saw the report that the Fed is in no rush to lower short-term rates. I think we've all seen that. The Fed chairman went on TV this past week. By the way, Randy is this Sunday morning is in a relaxed mode. You can see what I'm talking about if you want to see a rebroadcast of today's show. Going to LouisvilleAnswers.com. That's our redirect to our YouTube channel. Go to LouisvilleAnswers.com. That's where our video and audio of the show reside. So, Randy, the Powell says, there's no rush really to reduce interest rates. And yet, in a what I would call a rather controversial statement, President Trump made some comments with regards to Powell that were very unflattering, and indicates he's looking to replace him if he could, and is already interviewing people. I think he said he had 4 candidates. What are your thoughts, Randy?
Well, on the amount of people watching, it's been crazy how many people told me lately they love our show. So thank you, Bob, for all these years, what you've been doing. But back to the question, I'm not a Jerome Powell fan at all. Again, it doesn't matter political affiliation. I don't ever get into that.
He was, correct me if I'm wrong, he was actually appointed by Trump.
He was appointed by Trump.
Trump won.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think Trump now does not like him.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
Understatement. I think that we need to drop interest rates. It's crazy. All the indications, inflation, all the things show that a job market and the adjustment on job market. What's crazy, and this has happened in the last 5 years, is they'll adjust the job market. They'll see quarterly it comes out, it's only 4.2% or whatever, and then they'll next week they'll say, "Oh, we messed up. There's still 150,000 less jobs," and it's really really wild. But my point is that all indications show now that we need to drop interest rates, and we need to drop them very aggressively. It's time. We need to get the economy cranking.
I talk to a lot of people, folks who are listening right now, and I think Randy and Lee know this. A lot of people every week who have commented or wanted to think about selling their home. And to a T, almost everybody I talk to says, "Listen, I've got an interest rate and fill in the blank here, and typically it's between 2.75% and 4%." In terms of interest rates, but I'm not going to trade it for 7%, which is we're pretty much right about there right now still, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't blame them. And, there are a lot of situations where people have still moved for many reasons. They finally had enough, or they need the extra bedroom and they don't want to do an addition. They looked at that. And but yes, there's going to be so much pent up demand when it happens, which goes back to what I say, though. If you're not in a house right now, buy. I cannot emphasize enough, buy. Again, marry the house, date the rate.
Yeah, we've said that before. Okay, got that, which means you're going to marry the house, and then when the rate changes, as if you can just, like a date, if you're not happy with who you're dating, you just change the date to somebody else, is what he's inferring. So you change the mortgage, you refinance down. No, I think that's appropriate, and we'll keep an eye on this on a regular basis. But I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, folks. The president cannot fire the Fed chairman.
No, he cannot. He's got to wait till May of 2026 is when he is out.
But I would suspect that the president has the ability to make life for Mr. Powell extremely difficult on a variety of levels that maybe we don't even know about, maybe forcing him out. Who knows? But the words I heard used were pretty harsh this week by our president, directed towards Powell. So Anyway, we move on. This question goes over to Lee Harris over at Limestone Title and Escrow. Arnold wrote in with an unusual problem. And Randy, you may want to jump on this also. Back in 2022, Arnold and the family purchased a new house. They moved in through, even though they had the existing home, they didn't sell. They didn't have to sell. And he had owned it for 20 years, so there's still a lot of items in the other home. And he's thinking about selling, and his question is capital gains. And I know we're not accountants, but Lee, maybe you've got enough experience under your belt there to figure out if Randy, if he hasn't sold the old house and he's bought the new house, and he's actually paid about $100,000 more to buy the new house than what the old house is worth. Is he subject to capital gains now? And I would, on the surface, say no, because he's actually spent more money, and he hasn't even sold the first one, so he hasn't made any profit. That's my take on it. Lee, Randy, how do you feel about that for Arnold and what he's thinking?
Yeah, you don't have any capital gains until you have the gains. However, if you've lived in a house as your primary residence 2 of the last 5 years, so he said 2022.
Yeah.
So if he lived there, it doesn't have to be the last 2 years. It just has to be 2 of the last 5 years. So he might want to set himself out of date when that 5 years will hit, because it seems like it's probably getting close. And at that point, if it was his primary residence, he shouldn't realize capital gains, depending on how much he sells it for. But yes, you don't realize the gain until you actually sell
the older house. Randy, any comment on that?
Lee, and you'll probably confirm this. A single person, $250,000 and $500,000 on a married couple.
The gain, yes.
Gain, yes.
Yes.
Minus any of your expenses, if you could show
right. You could have
and all that.
You could have put in a new kitchen that raises up your basis, all of that.
The impression I got was that Arnold had talked to accountants, and maybe they didn't understand what he was saying, because they seemed to indicate that he would be subject to capital gains. And when I heard that, I said, I don't think that's the case, but that's why I brought it up on the radio show. And I thought, for any of us who are thinking of selling or have sold, and what are the taxes that are involved, this is an interesting question that always comes up.
Unless he's used his basis already. He could have used his basis.
I don't think he has.
Already.
No, based on what I understand,
he should be fine.
Yeah.
If one of the things that you should do, if you're shopping for an accountant and or for a real estate agent or for an attorney, whoever, you want to look at their reviews, because ultimately that's the tell of how those people are doing. In the case of Zillow and Google, you can't game the system. By that I mean you cannot put in a fake review, because, for example, Zillow actually confirms that you've sold a house through this person. They have some pretty deep ability to confirm all that. So they're not gaming. Like if you go to Amazon and you look at the reviews, they now say verified if they verify the fact that the review is legit, because there are some manufacturers that just put in a fake review hoping you're going to buy into it, and then you buy the product, right? So Zillow and Google have some very strict guidelines. And I would tell you, in hiring anybody, including real estate agents, you want to look at their reviews. And I tell you that because I'm going to tell you that if you want to see what our reviews are like, our Sokoler team, you can go to LouisvilleZillow.com or LouisvilleGoogle.com. We've made it kind of easy for you just to redirect to those, by typing in those words. It'll take you to see what our reviews are. We're really proud of our reviews, and we thank all of our clients who have left reviews for us. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, the 12 mistakes never to make when flying the American flag. As we approach the 4th of July, I thought this was very appropriate for all of us just to think and stop, appreciate our country, and then make sure that we don't make any mistakes when we fly that flag. Continuing with us after the break, Randy Rocky, who is one of the head guys at Swan Financial. They shop the loan to get you the very best rate. If you go to a bank, that's it, one place. That's it. They got their rate, that's all. You go to Swan Financial, they're working with a variety. Randy, how many people are you working with, different companies? How many?
Over 60 now.
60 different groups to get you the best loan. I think that's really important. Reach Randy at 645-0736. Also, if you are thinking of selling, you're going to want, and or buy, you're going to want to work with a reputable, knowledgeable closing attorney. I can tell you that Lee Harris, legal counsel, Limestone Title and Escrow, does the job and then some. And whether you're buying or selling, and as a buyer, you can pick the closing attorney you want. And even as a seller, you can suggest and ask that the buyers use the closing attorney that you want. And we suggest one of those people would be Limestone Title and Escrow. You can reach Lee 649-7964. That's 649-7964. And if you are thinking of selling your home now or in the future, I'd love to help you. No home too big, no home too small. You can reach me, Bob Sokoler, 376-5483. That's 376-LIVE, or go to bobsellslouisville.com on your phone or on a computer and fill out the form for a free no obligation analysis of what your home is worth. Go to wesellouisville.com and click on the top of the page. Back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS. Bob Sokoler, Louisville Real Estate Show, back with you till the top of the hour. Thank you for sticking with us. Continuing with us, Lee Harris, Legal Counsel, Limestone Title and Escrow. You can reach them to get your loan closed, either a buyer or seller. They help you. Lee's personal cell phone number, 649-7964. That's pretty good. She gives out our personal cell phone number. Also, Randy Rocky, who is one of the head guys, Swan Financial, and a great guy as well. And you can reach Randy over at Swan, and where they shop the loans, get you the very, very best rate. You heard earlier, 60 different companies they're shopping for, as opposed to you go to a bank, that's it, one place. So you're stuck with their rate, but Randy will get you the best rate out there. 645-0736. That's 645-0736. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the future, I'd love to help you. No home, as I say, too big, no home too small, both in Louisville, surrounding counties, and southern Indiana. And it's me. I'll come out free, no obligation. We'll do an analysis and come up with a path to help you, all free of charge, to get that thing going so you know what you're up against. And it may not be much. You can reach me at 376-5483. That's 376-LIVE. Or go to bobsellslouisville.com, fill out the form, and for that free, no obligation analysis of what your home is worth, go to wesellouisville.com and click on the top of the page. All right. 4th of July, around the corner. We're hopefully either flying a flag or posting one outside. Could be a variety of things. Here are 12 mistakes you never want to make when flying the American flag, according to the U.S. Flag Code and Traditional Flag Etiquette. Letting the flag touch the ground is a no-no. Flying a damaged or dirty flag, it's a no-no. If it's torn, faded, soiled, should be retired and replaced. Okay. Using the flag as a clothing or apparel, that's a no-no. And yet I see a lot of ads these days for shirts that have the stripes and stars. I don't think that counts as wearing the flag. From what I've right, I think that's the right. Don't display the flag incorrectly. So the blue field of stars, the Union, should always be at the top left when displayed horizontally or vertically against a wall. Using the flag as advertising, no-no. Flying the flag in the dark without illumination actually is a no-no. Not lowering the flag in mourning to have staff. Flying the flag below another flag on the same pole is a no-no. Improper folding of the flag is wrong. Using the flag as a cover or drapery, nope. Flying a flag in bad weather, unless it's an all-weather flag, by the way, is a no. And finally, disposing of it improperly. Just so you know, when a flag is no longer in good condition, it should be retired in a respectful way, typically by burning, often done by the American Legion or VFW. So that's a good rundown of the things not to do, especially as we come up to the 4th of July and celebration of our country. And I know we all, well, I won't say we all, but many of us love our country and love what it affords us, freedom and the freedom of speech as well. Back to our emails that come in. You can email me, Bob at wesellouisville.com. This is for Randy or Lee, both of you guys. Pam is writing in. She graduated from college. She's looking to buy her first home. And she's asking what the process is from a closing, from purchase to closing, and also with $80,000 in debt, can she get a mortgage in her name? So let's start with the mortgage first. $80,000 debt. Randy Rocky, Swan Financial.
Yes, you can. And I know she specifically said student loan. So on a conventional loan, it would be 1% of the debt is how much it would put against you for a debt to income ratio. I know I'm getting a little bit in the
You are getting in the weeds here. So yeah.
So
what does that mean for all of us?
Basically that's $800 that they say that you have a payment. And on a FHA loan, you have a $400 payment if you have $80,000 worth of student loan debt. And then we approve you with the amount of money you make minus any other debt you have. And then we give you approval of whatever the number is on a home loan. What a lot of people do in that situation is they just tell us, hey, this is the payment I feel comfortable with, all-in payment, taxes and insurance. And then we back it out from there. The other thing we are doing now is 1% down, and we give a 2% grant up to $7,000. So you get 2% free. Now there's some income restrictions on that NMLS number 26362, but the 2% grant is becoming very popular with us.
Got it. And just FYI, we're going to be giving Randy's number out again. So just know, in the bottom line here is that even though with $80,000 in debt, Pam, you're not necessarily looking at have that whole amount being used against you when applying for a mortgage. So let's go to the other part of the question in terms of what's in the process of going from not having a house to closing. And I think one of the things you want to do, Pam, is to find a real estate agent that you trust who will help you and guide you through the process.
Yes.
Because it involves getting pre-approved, looking for a home, searching, also then inspections, and then, of course, there's going to be an appraisal process. But then that takes you to Lee's desk if you're using limestone title and escrow. And what happens when the contract gets to limestone, Lee?
Well, then we will close that. That means we search the title. It means to find out if there's any liens on the property, if there's any mortgages outstanding. We pay all of that off. The seller will pass a clear title to you, and then we will file the deed, and that property will then be yours. If you have a mortgage, we'll file that as well. So anybody coming down the line would know that there's a mortgage on that property. Mm-hmm. And I think what you have to consider too, even though you have the student loan debt, is you do get a good tax break when you own a property. So in some ways, you're getting a little bit. It's not a dollar for dollar because you're getting that tax break at the end of the year based on your mortgage and how much you've paid. So it's always good to own the home and build yourself up some equity.
Yeah, they say if you own a home, you're making more money by owning it than you would be as if you're renting, throwing the money away and giving it to somebody else. So
right.
Makes a lot of good points. All right, that gives you kind of an outline, Pam, of what goes on from start to finish. Back over to Randy Rocky, Swan Financial. Lauren rented an apartment for 5 years, now wants to buy her first home. And she is wondering in this email, what are the costs involved in buying a home? And Lee will come to you on this as well. Okay. But let's start with using a mortgage company. There are some application fees. What are those involved, Randy?
There's not any application fees with us. And you can go as zero money down, where you have no money out of your pocket. The only cost you would have would be your appraisal, which would be between $600 and $700, and your home inspection and termite inspection, which range between $350 and $650. So you can really get into a $200,000, $300,000 home with no money out of your pocket. Now, what comes with that is a little higher interest rate. So the more money you put down, the less risk the lender feels, and you get a better interest rate. But you can't get in a home for zero money down. Now, our 1% product has a great interest rate, and you get a 2% grant, so you can get into that as well for 1% down.
One thing to not forget is that once you get into the home, there's maintenance and repairs that are typically, unless even a new home, it may not be maintenance and repairs. It may be things you want to add to the house, blinds, or drapes or carpet change
or landscaping.
Yeah. I just did that myself on the house we bought last year. So just know that it doesn't end. I mean, there's always, but it's appreciating. Everything is coming, going up in price, and so is the home values, and that's a good thing. All right, we move over to Lee Harris, Limestone Title and Escrow. Lisa listens to our radio show all the time. Sent us this unfortunate email. She was engaged to be married, had sold the house with plans on moving into another house with her fiance. And last weekend, the couple broke up. There is a contract on the house that Lisa is selling, which is supposed to close in a week. Oh. And she's wondering what will happen if she says, I do not want to sell. Oh, is she out of luck? Is there an avenue that she could stay there in her house? This is a terrible problem for Lisa to have to deal with. What would you suggest, Lee?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Lisa. Yep. A week before closing, the buyer is probably expecting to buy. However, you could run it up the flagpole, as they say, on 4th of July, I guess, and say, would you consider a termination? They may say, no, we've got all these plans. We can't terminate. We've got to move forward. We've sold our house, etc. Perhaps she could propose to them that she could stay there and rent the house. I don't know if they're buying it as an investment property or if they're buying it to live in. If you do just walk away, however, without any kind of release or without any kind of termination, then, there's certain damages that could happen. Like you could lose your earnest money or even more. The buyer might have some out-of-pocket expenses and they may come seeking those from the seller if the seller's in default. And there's real estate commissions that could be sought, and so it's always best if you need to or you want to get out of a contract to be released from the other party. In this instance, it's unlikely, but who knows? Maybe this is a situation where those buyers would be willing to negotiate something to help you out.
Yep, and we'll get Lee. We'll give out Lee's number in just a second to you, Lisa. So that'll, if you need some more, she'll be able to help you. But it does
Absolutely.
sound like there's not a whole lot of options out there. A reminder: if you are thinking of buying a home, we have a free or selling your home, a free no obligation booklet. It has hundreds of useful tips. I also have a book that I co-authored years ago that I am willing to give to you if you want to come by and pick it up, free of charge. So for the buying a book, getting the book to about buying a home, you can call me at 376-5483, or if you want that no obligation booklet about selling a home, send me an email, bob@wesellouisville.com. Put selling tips in the subject line, and I will send that out to you via email as soon as I get it. We're out of time. My thanks to Randy Rocky over at Swan Financial. They do a great job shopping the loan, and I didn't know 60 different companies that he checks to find the best rate for you. You can reach Randy at 645-0736. Also, Lee Harris, thank you. Legal counsel, Limestone Title and Escrow. They do a great job of getting the loan closed. They dot the I's, cross the T's, and do a lot of other legal work as well. If you'd like to get a hold of Lee, her cell phone, personal cell phone, 649-7964. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the future, I'd love to help you. There's no home too big, no home too small. And I work in Louisville, surrounding counties in southern Indiana. 376-5483 is my direct cell phone number. That's 376-LIVE. Or you can go to bobsellslouisville.com, fill out the form, hit submit. And then also you can go to wesellouisville.com, click on the top of the page to get a free estimate of what your home is worth. Next week, we answer the age-old question, and we've talked about a little bit about this before. This is a new look at it. We answer why you should use the dishwasher and not wash dishes by hand,
Oh.
with some other tips, about stacking and how to place it in there. We're out of time. See you next Sunday on News Radio 840 WHAS.